Sausage. Hello, and welcome to another episode of First, the show where I, Marcus Nez, gives you my first impressions on a game. And this here episode is all about Super Cyborg, a retro run-and-gun shooter that is very much so inspired by Contra, NES Contra, to be specific, so much so that the first level of Super Cyborg is basically the first level of Contra. And when I say basically, I mean, it looks a little bit different, but if you've played Contra and then you play Super Cyborg, you'll be like, is this Contra? Is this like a shittier version of Contra? And you would be kind of right there. This is no Contra in that it's not as good as Contra, but it does do a good Contra impression. And at least after the first level, it does try doing its own things in terms of level design. All the weapons are basically the same weapons from Contra. You've got your spread shot, your machine gun, your laser gun, and then the circle blast. What was that? Energy gun or whatever it was? They come at you in the same ways, whether they're in those flying little orbs that go in their wave formation, or sometimes in the environment, you shoot them and they'll come out of there. And maybe those power-ups aren't in the walls, but it's a turret that's going to shoot at you. It's all very, very Contra. Thankfully, though, it plays well. The controls are very tight. It's just like Contra in that you can shoot in the cardinal directions as well as diagonally. You can push one of the buttons to lock yourself in place and then shoot at an angle or up and down. Can you shoot down if you're... I guess I didn't really utilize that feature, that control, ever. I can't think of a time where I would really be that useful. Even with the boss fights, which are pretty solid, they range from easy to cheap-ish with little in between. The game does offer a good challenge as well, and two difficulty options, easy and normal. It defaults to easy. I don't know exactly how different they are. I'm not sure if the checkpoints you occasionally get midway through some levels are non-existent on the normal mode. I would presume they are, but it's structured just like Contra in that you have this one you have 3 lives, technically 4. 3 lives, and then when the one's gone is 4. So I think you have got 1 extra life than in the original Contra, if my memory is correct. And while it can feel cheap at times, the fact that it does feel really good to control, which is ultimately the most important thing here, that's not too bad. And it's only $5 on Steam, presumably around that much on console. It might be $6 on consoles. I'm not entirely sure. I played it on Xbox, and it feels pretty good with the Series D-pad. It's okay with the analog stick, but I would recommend playing with the D-pad. I mean, why would you not play a retro run-and-gun shooter with the D-pad, especially one that shoots in the way it does, not full analog shooting and aiming? But, yeah, I mean, there's not that much to say about it. The biggest knock against it is that it does take so much from Contra that it doesn't do enough of its own thing. It doesn't introduce new and creative weapons. Your death animation is the one thing that might be a one-for-one copy of Contra. I'm not entirely sure. But when I died the first time, I'm like, was that just literally from Contra? Is that just ripped directly from Contra? But if you grew up with games like Contra, or if you've gone back and played Contra and the like, or games that are inspired by it but do more of their own thing, like, I forget what it was called, Neon Chrome, something Chrome, and the Blazing Chrome. That's the one, Blazing Chrome. If you've played stuff like that and you really enjoyed it, then Super Cyborg is worth checking out. The music is also okay, but nowhere near Contra levels, which is maybe unfair given how good the Contra soundtrack is, but it's just a solid retro run-and-gun shooter. I only wish it was a bit more original, but yeah, that will do it for this here episode of First. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you'd like to see me streaming games like Super Cyborg, you can go to twitch.tv/PX Sausage, and maybe you'll see me streaming there. Maybe you won't. I don't know. It's a mixed bag with me streaming. but you can go there and maybe see me streaming every now and again. If you'd like to check out the videos I make and you aren't already doing so, or if you're here right now, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and all that jazz if you haven't already. That is youtube.com/pixelated sausage. Speaking of pixelated sausage, if you put a dot and a com after that, what do you got? What do you got? You got my website, pixelatedsausage.com, where you can find more stuff like this as well as the art I make. And if you see something you like, you can purchase a print of the piece you fancy. And if you fancy the site in general and anything that we do, please go over to patreon.com/pxs and support us that way. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye!